left embraces another hate hoax, all other distinctions fade away. This is not the party of AOC or the party of Nancy Pelosi. Democrats have become the party of Jussie Smollett. We will examine the live-action role play of the left. Then Republicans cheer on AOC's new Republican challenger. But is the fresher, facer conservative in New York's 14th congressional district just a wolf in sheep's clothing? We will examine her current statements and her old tweets. Finally, a new report shows Trump hasn't built any wall, and a woman marries her chandelier. Love wins. All that and more. I'm Michael Knowles, and this is The Michael Knowles Show. Have we got a packed show today? Let's jump right in. A Georgia state representative claimed on Sunday that she was verbally assaulted by a man in a grocery store by a white man. And do you know what he told her, allegedly? He told her to go back to where she came from. That sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like the chant that briefly some people at a Trump rally were chanting about Ilhan Omar. And more importantly, it sounds like the line that the mainstream media were trying to use against all conservatives everywhere to smear us as bigots and xenophobes and nativists and racists and whatever ist you want to use. When she mentioned this story, this state representative, I did not believe it for even 1 second. I just want to go on the record. Not for 1 nanosecond did I believe that a man in a grocery store started yelling at this woman to go back where she came from. A white man, probably wearing a MAGA hat. I knew from the first second that this was Jussie Smollett, the Jussie Smollett of the Georgia State Assembly. And guess what? Turns out I was right. The left believed this. The left believed this immediately. They bought it hook, line, and sinker. Why did they believe it, and why did I not believe it? It's because of different premises about America. The left believes that America is hopelessly racist and bigoted. And so therefore, of course, some black state representative would be told to go back to where she came from, go back to Africa in a grocery store. I don't believe that America is hopelessly racist and bigoted. I actually think that America is the most racially tolerant country in the history of the world. We are this multiracial experiment, this completely novel idea, this experiment in mixing different ethnicities and cultures together, all underneath a sort of unified American culture and American national identity, though not a racial identity. And so I just never thought this would happen. Turns out I was right. The Democrats believe this stuff. And to their credit, actually, she put on a pretty good performance. Her lawyer, first red flag, her lawyer tweets out this video after the alleged event happened.
So you know what I decided? I decided to go live because I'm very upset because people are getting really out of control with this white privilege stuff. I'm at the grocery store and I'm in the 10 aisle, the aisle that says 10 items or less. Yes, I have 15 items, but I'm 9 months pregnant and I can't stand up for long. And this white man comes up to me and says, "You lazy son of a bitch." He says, "You lazy son of a bitch. You need to go back where you came from." And he says that. I said, "Sir, you don't even know me. I'm not lazy. I'm 9 months pregnant." He says, "You're ignorant."
Okay. So she put on a good performance. She's crying. She's an elected politician. Elected politicians are all actors. They're all performers. So you gotta remember that as well. But what happened? I don't know what happened in the grocery store. Maybe the guy called her some mean name. Maybe the guy was rude. Maybe he was out of line. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know what happened. But what I am certain of is that he did not tell her to go back to where she came from, to go back to Africa, where her ancestors came from, or something like that. It's just too perfect a political line for Democrats right now, right after they made a whole hullabaloo about this Ilhan Omar thing. I just know that didn't happen. And it looks like I was right, because almost immediately, this representative, Erica Thomas, showed her cards. She kind of admitted that the story that she was telling on camera wasn't quite true. We'll get to that in a second, but first, cell phone plans and bills are notoriously confusing. More than confusing, they're overly expensive. You sign up for one thing and then you get charged so much more. It's impossible to know what you're actually paying for with all these hidden fees and all these little fees that, it adds up over time, and all of a sudden they become huge costs. No more, thanks to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile makes it easy to cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month. I know you don't believe me. I know, because you've been burned too many times. So have I with big wireless. $15 a month. That's it. That's what I'm telling you. $15 a month. Every plan comes with unlimited nationwide talk and text. Mint Mobile allows you to stop paying for unlimited data that you're never going to use, because that is the main tool that big wireless uses to steal all your money. So you can choose between plans with 3, 8, and 12 gigabytes of 4G LTE data. You don't need more than that. Between your home and your office, you're on Wi-Fi most of the day anyway. You don't need all of that data that big wireless are cramming down your necks that you don't even use. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. Keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Ditch old wireless and start saving with Mint Mobile. Get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month. I know you don't believe me. Just try it out. I'm telling you. Get the plan shipped to your door for free. Mintmobile.com/Knowles, Knowles. Mintmobile.com/Knowles. Don't sacrifice service. Don't sacrifice your phone. Don't sacrifice your contacts. Just cut your wireless bill down to $15 a month. I'm basically giving you free money. Go to mintmobile.com/Knowles, Knowles. So this Georgia State Representative, Erica Thomas, admits almost immediately, once she got off her lawyer's cell phone footage that she tweeted out, once she's doing an interview with the media, they say, hold on, you're telling me that this white man in the grocery store said, go back to where you come from? Did that really happen, Representative Thomas? Here's what she says.
He said, go back, those types of words. I don't want to say, he said, go back to your country or go back to where you came from, but he was making those types of references is what I remember.
Hold on, wait. Those types of words? What do you mean types of words? He either said go back to where you came from, or go back to your country, or go back to Africa, or he didn't. What do you mean types of words? What's a word that's a type of word like go? How about toaster? They both have O. Are they the similar types of words? What do you mean types of words? Very vague, right? And then he backs off it even further. She goes, I'm not going to say that he said go back. You just said it. You said it in a teary-eyed video that your lawyer shot, that you tweeted out, obviously for a political gain. So she backs off it, right, because it just seems like it was too good to be true. This shows why we should all treat these claims of hate experiences and hate speech and hate this and hate that with a grain of salt. Then, incredibly, CBS 46, the local CBS affiliate in this area, gets both of these people, the man who allegedly told her to go back home and this representative, Erica Thomas, gets them together in a parking lot to hash out what really happened. And what it turns out is the guy actually isn't white at all. And he's not a Trump supporter, and he's not a Republican. He's actually a Hispanic liberal Democrat, and he contradicts her narrative, her first narrative of events. I guess it's not her second narrative of events. He gives what he says is the real story on camera with Erica Thomas. Here's what he says.
This speaks for every black, brown, and any woman that's out there that's 9 months pregnant, and a white man comes up to you and calls you a son of I don't care what you are. Yes, you are.
I'm not white.
If anybody comes up to you and calls you a son of it, I am facing the man that degraded me and berated me, and I'm not crying. No, I'm not. I'm standing right in front of you. And if you know how you made me feel yesterday.
I'm Hispanic. I don't care what she thinks. She's doing it for political purposes, period. Like I said earlier, I'm a Democrat. I will vote Democrat the rest of my life. Okay? So to call me what she wants to believe for her political purposes, to make it black, white, brown, or whatever, is so untrue.
So I looked into this a little bit because, look, the guy could be lying. Maybe he's lying about being Hispanic. He certainly could pass as a white guy, but he looks kind of Hispanic too. Who knows? Maybe he's lying about being a Democrat. Maybe. Turns out, no. If you look at his social media history, he's a Democrat. Just last week, he was defending the squad, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. He was actually defending Omar, and Omar is at the center of this whole controversy because Omar was the object of the go back home chants, send her back chants. The narrative explodes here. She is the Jussie Smollett of this week. There's going to be another Jussie Smollett next week. There's going to be another Jussie Smollett after that because the left is living in a hoax fantasy land. This guy, whatever he said to her, he might have called her a lot of names, but it seems like he didn't say go back home. He's a liberal Democrat. He's Hispanic. And the best part of it all, Twitter is forever. The internet is forever. 4 years ago now, Erica Thomas, this representative, tweeted out, quote, "Going downtown Atlanta for an event, I hope I magically bump into Jussie Smollett, hashtag biggest fan." You don't say, Representative Thomas. If this were a Hollywood script, if someone just turned these events into a Hollywood movie, the studio would reject it. They'd say it's too obvious, it's too on the nose. You can't have her say at the end of it that she's a huge fan of Jussie Smollett, the most famous race hoaxer in the country. But that's actually what happened. Because we're living in the simulation, because this is the Matrix, because it's just too perfect. In the face of a hate hoax like this, all of the other distinctions among Democrats and on the left fade away. This is not the party of AOC or the party of Nancy Pelosi. That's not what unites all of them. What unites all of them are these hate hoaxes. What unites all of them is that they see Nazis everywhere. They see concentration camps everywhere. They see racial bigotry everywhere. They're the party of Jussie Smollett. It's a party of LARPers, live action role play. They're playing out a fantasy on the media. They're playing out a fantasy in the halls of Congress. It isn't true. They want to pretend that they're fighting the great civil rights battles that were already fought and finished 50 years ago or more, 100 years ago or more, 150 years ago. They're playing that because right now, basically in the grand scheme of things, we don't have any problems. We don't have real problems. So we have to invent fake verbal attacks, fake racial hate hoaxes at grocery stores. We have to invent white Trump supporters out of Hispanic liberal Democrats, who defend Ilhan Omar. It's a fantasy. And as long as the Democrats, by the way, are living in a fantasy, the GOP is going to have a strong electoral advantage. This is, I think, a lot of how Trump won in 2016 and why he's looking good for 2020 is because you had the left living in this fantasy world of evil racists. Half the country are deplorable, irredeemable bigots. And we looked around and we said, that isn't true. We're the most racially tolerant country in the history of the world. It's cut through that BS. If you campaign on fantasy, you're probably not going to win. If you campaign on reality, you have a better chance of winning. This is why AOC in New York's 14th Congressional District is facing a new challenger. Although there is something a little wrong, I think, with this challenger campaign. And I want to get into it because I don't want conservatives and Republicans to be taken in by a wolf in sheep's clothing, if that's what she is. So moving from Georgia to New York's 14th over in Queens and the Bronx, the socialist darling, who's really from northern Westchester, but she pretends she's Jenny from the block, AOC has a new GOP challenger, Sherry Murray. And everyone on the right is really excited about this because she's a woman, because she's an ethnic minority, because she's an immigrant from Jamaica, because she just checks all these boxes. Like, we fall into it too on the right. The left focuses on all identity politics. The left focuses on all of the intersectional boxes. And we rightly say that that's stupid, that politics isn't about those superficial characteristics. It's about ideas, and it's about the country, and it's about may the best person win, regardless of their skin color or their genitals. But we fall into it too because we think, AOC's campaigning on all those identity politics. Maybe if we campaign on that, we can win. I think it's kind of silly. But sometimes, look, I understand why it's effective to us because it shuts down most of AOC's arguments. Sometimes in our excitement, I think we don't do our due diligence here. So this woman, Sherry Murray, has been doing the rounds on Fox News and doing the rounds on social media. Here is Murray explaining her campaign on Hannity.
Well, it's disgusting. I think the narrative on the national level needs to be dialed back, and that's why I'm in the race. I'd like to represent the constituents in Queens and the Bronx. And we see AOC from the time she's been elected. She put out policy like the job-killing Green New Deal. She then went on to kill the Amazon deal in New York, which would have put some 25,000 jobs in Queens. And so these are some of the reasons, along with kitchen table issues, that I do believe that AOC has neglected in her limelight bid to focus on in the congressional district.
Those 25,000.
So this is a little bit vague, isn't it? She's saying she doesn't like the job-killing Green New Deal, and she doesn't like the job-killing Amazon deal that AOC shut down the Amazon deal and took away about 25,000 jobs from around her district. It's a little vague. The problem with the Green New Deal isn't just that it kills jobs. It's that it costs $93 trillion. It's that it won't really do anything to help the environment. It's that it knocks down all of our buildings. It's that it outlaws cars and airplanes and cows, and it takes away our personal choice. And it's that it becomes a transfer program for federal funds to people based on their race or their sex or all these strange characteristics. It's that it's profoundly un-American and that it's socialist. And the problem isn't just the jobs. You'll notice when politicians, when all they talk about is job killing and they're really vague on cultural questions, usually it means they don't agree with you on culture and they're trying to hide something about their political views. Whereas President Trump talked about jobs a lot, but he always couched it in culture. He said, we're going to love America. We're going to stop criminals from coming into this country. We're going to kill terrorists. We're going to stop socialism. You know, he used pretty specific language, sometimes a little too specific probably when it comes to President Trump, but at least he was telling you where he came from. So it's a bit vague. Hannity asks her to get a bit more specific, and she fails to do that.
How would you describe yourself politically, and how do you feel about President Trump in the 2+ years or 2.5 years he's been in office?
Well, I migrated here from Jamaica, and I know firsthand what it is to not just be an immigrant, but to go through the process, right? And so what do I think about what the president is doing? I think that the president is delivering on his promises when he got elected.
Huh? Come again? He said, please describe your politics. Please tell us what you think of the president. And she said, I think President Trump is delivering on his promises when he got elected. Now, that's largely true, but it doesn't answer either of the questions that Hannity asked. She never describes herself politically. She never explains what she thinks about Donald Trump delivering on his promises. Okay, this kind of confirmed my suspicions when I saw it, but then we found out some really bad news. Murray celebrated when AOC won her primary election last year. She celebrated when AOC beat Joe Crowley in the Democratic primary. Not 10 years ago, not 5 years ago, 1 year ago. She tweeted out an article. The article was titled, "A 28-year-old Democratic Socialist Just Ousted a Powerful 10-Term Congressman in New York." And this woman, Sherry Murray, the GOP candidate for Congress, tweeted out, quote, "Congratulations, Alexandria. Queens is headed in a new direction, and it's time for new leadership. #yes." All right, that's not great. I guess there are some possible explanations for this. It could be that she wanted to shake up the Democratic establishment. Okay, that's fair enough. This would be like a kind of accelerationist idea. You want the most radical people in your opponent's party to come out because it'll show how crazy they are, and then Republicans are more likely to win. Now, I don't know. I mean, she said Queens is headed in a new direction. It was obviously headed to AOC, so it was headed in the direction of socialism. That's probably not great. #yes, that's not great. The only other explanation is that she didn't know that AOC was a radical socialist, but that one falls apart because the article she tweeted out identified AOC as a socialist. Now, how is Sherry Murray going to answer this? The answer she gives is pretty weak sauce. She gave this classic answer that politicians who either don't believe in anything or who don't want you to know what they believe give. The answer she gave was a tweet, quote, "I was hopeful when AOC won. She took on a Democratic political machine and won, but nothing has changed since. Why? because she's only been focused on fame and politics of division and hate. We deserve and expected better. That's why I'm running. Join us. You were hopeful when a socialist won the primary? You were hopeful when a radical socialist beat a relatively more moderate Democrat? What about that made you hopeful? What were you hoping for? I mean, this is the classic. It's a smart answer in the sense that some people who are centrist politically or more moderate who don't pay attention to politics, you could see them saying, look, I was hopeful when Obama won that he would be good, but then he was bad. I know actually a number of people who are now Trump supporters who said that. I was hopeful when Obama won, but he wasn't good, and so now I'm more conservative. Part of the reason it's plausible with Obama is Obama only spoke in vague terms, hope and change. You know, kind of like the terms that Sherry Murray's talking in. But AOC didn't speak in vague terms. She said, I'm a socialist and I want socialism. That's what she campaigned on. So what were you hopeful for? You were hopeful that she would be socialist, right? And then she wasn't? I mean, what do you mean you were hopeful that something would happen and then nothing has changed? The only thing that AOC would change is that she would make the country more socialist. Change in itself isn't good. You change in one direction or the other. If she made the country more American, more conservative, made us more economically competitive, made us love our country more, that would be a good thing. But if she did the things she said she was going to do, which you said you were hoping for, then that would make the country much worse. That change would be terrible. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Last year, she celebrated a socialist winning an election, but now she knows better? Is that what she's saying? Either she's still a left-winger, or just 12 months ago, she exhibited egregious judgment and ignorance. Either way, this is a bad sign. Now, I'm interested in this race because AOC and I grew up in exactly the same place. We grew up one town apart from each other at exactly the same time. We're the same age, and we've had similar life experiences. So I'm curious about it. I'm also curious about it because AOC and I have spent about the same amount of time in her current congressional district, and I'm interested in it because she is the leader of the Democratic Party, right? I mean, she is the fresh face. DNC Chairman Tom Perez said she's the future of the party. She gets all the media attention. So this is going to be an important race, and I just don't want conservatives and Republicans to get hoodwinked by a fraud. I'm not saying that Murray is definitely a fraud. I'm saying there are a lot of questions about her. So if Miss Murray wants to come on the show and talk about it, I'd be happy to have her on. But she's got a lot of answers to give. She's got a lot of explaining to do. There are other Republicans in this race, and I just don't want conservatives to fall into that trap of saying, oh, look, she checks all of the intersectional boxes. She'll be really good to run against AOC, when in fact, she may be quite left-wing herself, much more left-wing than other people in the race. We'll just have to follow it, and if Ms. Murray wants to come on the show, she's more than welcome. In even crazier news than AOC, I know it's hard to imagine anything crazier than AOC, but in the realm of news that is crazier than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a woman is marrying her 91-year-old chandelier. That's that. I almost could end the show right there, but no, let's look into it. It's a bit of a May-December relationship, obviously. The chandelier is much older than the 35-year-old woman, but love is love. You know, hashtag. And love wins. Hashtag, hashtag. And this woman obviously has a right to marry her love, right? Here she is explaining her nuptials.
Just like anybody who falls in love with somebody else, they want to be close to them. And so I enjoy being close to my chandeliers. I've admired them for years. I've loved the way that they've looked. I've looked the way that the light catches on the little crystals, and I've just loved them in general. I think they're beautiful things. I think it's good in the world to have a bit of variety and have different types of people. If we were all the same, then the world would be a really boring place.
All right, that's Amanda Liberty. Her name is Amanda Liberty. It used to be Amanda Whitaker, but she changed her name to Amanda Liberty a number of years ago when she entered into a different romantic relationship. She entered into a long-distance relationship with, I'll give you 5 seconds to guess. Her name's Amanda Liberty. Who was she in a long-distance relationship with? She was in a long-distance relationship with the Statue of Liberty. Here she is then.
When I met Lady Liberty, the Flags already knew and had a friendship with Lady Liberty. They were already friends. So it didn't feel like I was cheating on anybody. The first part of Libby that I fell in love with was her crown and her torch as well, but it was her crown that initially got me attracted to her. I just want to be able to tell people that I love her because I am proud of loving her. I am really proud to have her. I'm really proud that she's part of my life.
She's proud. Didn't we just celebrate Pride Month? Didn't we just celebrate all the different sorts of sexual identity and gender identity and sexual attraction? This woman actually does have a sexual orientation that is recognized, which is the sexual orientation toward inanimate objects. Obviously, she seems a little crazy. Maybe that's hate speech if I say that she seems a little crazy. Maybe I'll get kicked off of YouTube if I say she seems a little crazy. We will examine the similarities and differences between Chris Whitaker Liberty or Amanda Liberty's attraction to famous statues and 91-year-old chandeliers and the rest of our sexual morality. We'll explain why this is the logical or illogical, I guess, conclusion of so much of the left's view on sex. Then we will explain the greatest irony of the 2020 race, and it has to do with Bernie Sanders' campaign. And then finally, a masterstroke from President Trump on Twitter, which the mainstream media obviously are ignoring. A lot of the conservative media are ignoring it. I think to the conservative movement's peril. We'll explain why President Trump is so interested in ASAP Rocky $ rapper. We'll get to that in a second. But first, you got to go to dailywire.com. $10 per month, $100 for an annual membership. What do you get? What don't you get? You get me. You get the Andrew Klavan Show. You get the Ben Shapiro Show. You get the Matt Walsh Show. You get to ask questions in the mailbag coming up on Thursday. You get to ask questions backstage. You get Another Kingdom. You get all of it. And you get the Leftist Tears Tumblr. This is really, that's really good. It tastes like exposing their hate hoaxes. That's what it tastes like, the feeling of exposing their ridiculous, divisive narratives. Like, for instance, if I were walking in South Central Chicago in the middle of the night, and I were walking there and I had some people in MAGA hats come up to me and tell me this is MAGA country and beat me up, I would not drop my Leftist Tears Tumblr. I couldn't, because when those hoaxes are exposed, I got to catch those tears or I will drown. Go to dailywire.com. We've got a lot more. We'll be right back.